Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, starting off our discussion right away. Mr. Nicola, now, Britain was one of the main countries, kingdoms actually, just exporting their visitors to Egypt, about 1 million visitors every year. Now, with the announcement of lifting that ban to Sharm el-Sheikh, direct flights to Sharm el-Sheikh, how do you receive this information, and what's it going to change in the tourism map for Egypt now?
Well, there is different aspects to look at it. First, and the most important, is the indication that this act give to the world that the British has lifted the embargo on Egypt travel to Sharm el-Sheikh especially. That means everybody, hey, it's safe there, let's go. Other countries will follow, a lot of other countries, so we didn't really feel the impact of their embargo, but now also they will come. One by one, everybody will be coming back to us. This is one aspect. Second aspect is, as we have suffered years from the embargo and from the political situation and so, and these countries like Russia, England, France, a lot of them has stopped sending their tourists to us. We tried to find alternatives, so we got other markets to come over to us. These markets getting used to come to Egypt. For example, the Indian market, the Chinese market, Far Eastern in general. Now they already have a foot in Egypt, and they are taking a good size of our capacity. Now the British is coming back. They're trying to find the same spot that they used to have. God help us. We can give them the same spot, because hotels already in Sharm el-Sheikh is doing 70% and over, and sometimes 100% in the high seasons. So we do appreciate that British are coming back, and we will do our best to accommodate them as the situation, as I told you, is not that easy now. Especially that we all feel and know that the Russian also will be coming soon. We need to build some more hotels.
Yes, well, hopefully so. Mrs. Mohammed, now, we are witnessing over the past few years a boom in the tourism sector, and with such announcements of lifting, countries lifting their bans on direct flights to different places in Egypt. Now, should we be expecting an all of a sudden boom in our statistics and numbers, or is this a winter season? It's not as big for, as we understand it, it's usually the summer season, but for many countries maybe it's a great destination, Egypt, to come during the winter, but maybe tourists are reluctant to travel during winter. How do you see it? When should we feel the effect of the lifting of all these bans in our tourism sector?
Actually, Egypt is a winter destination, not a summer destination. But this is based on the nationalities.
Yes.
So the European would look for a destination where they feel warm in winter. So this is where they travel. So you have the majority of the foreign nationalities coming to Egypt, especially British, Russian, all West European are coming to Egypt in winter. While in summer, you have other destinations that are active, like mostly the locals, in addition to other nationalities. When, for example, the Russians are really expanding in Turkey, so they, after finishing all Turkish hotels, then they start to move to Cairo. But this is a winter destination, not a summer destination, and apparently we do not have real competition in winter. We are one of the very few destinations with an exception of the areas long haul for Latin America and so on that are competing with us, and it's a different, totally different destination, whether in flights, in times, and so on. But on the contrary, it should be now the time where we feel the impact. And we're approaching very soon the World Travel Market, which is supposed to be in UK, in London. So this would be, I think, the starting measure. How is the response to this during the fair? Looking into this aspect, I think this will give us an indication how is the other markets as well, as Mr. Nicola said, that there is other markets that have lifted as well the ban based on this resumption of the flights for Sharm Sheikh. So, and it will not be only Sharm Sheikh. We have several areas that would have impact as well out of this ban, because if you don't find the place in Sharm Sheikh, you might be going to Hurghada, which is already in the map or in the loop. And there it was nothing happening, thanks God, and God forbid.
Yes.
So it will impact the whole Egypt together. And I think this will start to be measured by November onwards for the whole winter.
Yes. And are we offering the same services and facilities as we were offering 10 years ago, or are we offering new services? Are we developing our sector in these areas specifically, or is it not the time to actually worry about developing these facilities right now? We just at least need to get it back to the levels that were there before the 2011 revolution?
That's a very, very important question and a very smart one. Actually, if we are still standing still, this is a problem, because everybody is having a vision, or he's imagining what is he going to see in Egypt. Whoever came before, he has already an experience, and the newcomers are having a vision, or they're visualizing what are they going to experience in Egypt, whether via the social media, via what they hear in the news, what's happening now from the economic conferences that are taking place in Sharm Sheikh in particular. So they have seen a certain new experience over the news and over the social media. So unless we are coping with this line and giving the right impact and the right experience, then we are not on the right track.
Yes.
But of course, when you have soft occupancy, it's different when you have a very full occupancy. When you have a full occupancy, you try to upgrade always, and you're on your toes, as they say. But when you have, actually we don't have very soft, as Mr. Nicola said again, we have other markets that replaced the ones that have banned Egypt. So that this gave us an opportunity to continue going with our products and services. But of course, we do have now a very big homework, unless we really show everybody we are, Egypt now is already in the different era, then we will be not on the right track. So we have to continue looking into what we should do, whether trainings, upgrading the facilities, upgrading the offers, looking into the infrastructure have been completed. How are we servicing these areas? Are we putting the right signs? Are we putting it in the languages so that everybody is knowing his way, not to be depending on someone to take him from a place to another? How, as a nation, are we serving these people? Are we still doing the same attitude or what we have been hearing? No, we have upgraded. We should teach, and I think the media should play a great role. How should we treat the tourist in Egypt? Whether from the sense of arrival, the moment he steps in, onwards until he leaves, so that he gets the right experience. How are the taxi drivers dealing? How are the bazaars dealing with the tourists? These are all aspects that I think we should dedicate a complete media plan locally. How should we impact their experience based on our dealings,
Yes.
our treatment.
Yes, definitely. Well, Mr. Nicola, now both of you have spoken about the new markets and targeting new markets. You spoke of India, the Far East, maybe even as well South America. Now, how can we aggressively attack these markets and go and grab it by the scruff of the neck and tell them, this is the place to be, this is the place to visit? How do we have a strategy or a plan to reach out for these markets? We do get tourists from there, but not as much as we would hope for. So do we have any sort of strategy?
Can I just go back for 1 second to
Please.
the point Nagham was talking about? It's a very fatal point, because during those years that we suffered in the travel business, a lot of calibers have left the
Yes.
fields and went working in other things. Now, most of the junior staff and above junior staff is really new in the business. Whatever it is, in a hotel, in a travel agency, a bus driver, wherever. All this level of employees are new. Their experience is low. We need to push those, we need to teach them, we need to educate them very well, our staff, before even looking for the man in the street,
Yes.
how to tourism. Because all the new calibers, how did I get to know about tourism? From an experienced gentleman who teach me how to do this job. That's what we want to do. Our experienced old staff have to have sessions of educating our new calibers how to do how to be a travel business gentleman.
Yes.
The ambassador for
Exactly.
Egypt.
Yes.
I'm in the company, in my company, I have dedicated like a quarter of my time training my staff. And this is like very important for tomorrow.
Yes.
Because when I stop working and go to my pension, there must be somebody else experienced
Yes.
has to take the place. Okay. Now, the infrastructure that Nagham was talking about is very important. We have a lot of hotels that since 2008, 2007, did not renovate a thing. It's crazy. Now it's 5-star hotels. When you go to see the rooms, you don't like it. You really don't like it.
What is that down to?
Because there was no income at that time. We cannot ask an investor who owns a hotel to make a renovation at the time that he was doing 10% occupancy.
Yes.
Of course, I'm not going to ask him for that. But now, let's go.
Over the past few years, we've witnessed an improvement in the revenues.
It's getting. That's why. That's why we are saying, hey, investors, companies investing in the travel business, now it's time. Renovate everything. Bring it back to new. We did, as Nagham just said, the tourists, I don't want the tourists to come here, and he says, yeah, I've heard that the rooms are deteriorating now. I need to say, wow, that's a beautiful room.
Yes.
That's not what rumors that I heard about. So we need to invest again in the infrastructure of the travel business. Now I lost the question.
Back to the attacking new markets, be the Far East or South America. How can we actually just go and claim our stake there?
We have a golden opportunity, which is the Holy Family route in Egypt. This is, I cannot tell you how important it is, especially for Latin America. Latin Americans are a bit religious people. And they come all the way, they travel all the way 18 hours flight just to go to the Holy Land and the neighbors. Now Egypt, as per the Pope of Rome, he says this route is a holy route of the Holy Family. It's 24 spots in Egypt. Let's take 10 out of them, let's take 5 out of them and make them bright and make the good advertising for it all over the world and get the people coming. People are already coming. Groups are already coming, but in a small scale. If we, like, bright and shine these areas and this, we will have a lot of business coming from this direction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Mrs. Mohammed, now talking about the training and the vocational training and how we can actually train all the newcomers to the sector, replacing the old ones. We're going to talk about if we can actually get back the old ones. Would that actually be good or not later on? But the training for these personnel now, can it be a compulsory thing for hotels, for travel agencies, for companies, for airlines, that all the sort of workers from the bus driver, from the housekeeping personnel, can we make it a compulsory thing, or is it basically dependent on individual efforts between each hotel and each company on its own?
Actually, that's again a very important aspect to get back everybody due to the welcome that we always talk about, the warm welcome of the Egyptian nation. The training in most of the private sector is a compulsory thing, in most of them, of course, because they consider that you are the ambassador of this investment, whether it's a travel agency, it's a hotel, and so on. But some of them do not give the real importance to the training, and the training is considered the least thing that you would look for. But if you are looking into the international measures, you have to have a training abroad, for example, in any area. You have to have a training all the year round, and every year you have to be examined whether you have learned something new, whether you have learned your points that you have to deliver, or the work that you have to deliver in the right way and according to the training that you have learned. They might, as well as a kind of appreciation for the employees, they would send you in a training somewhere else in order to see a different world.
Yes.
Which comes back to your question whether the calibers that have left, is it good to get them back? Of course, because they have been exposed to different cultures, different way, and mostly cosmopolitan areas where you are in Dubai or in the Far East. It's a very cosmopolitan market where you deal with all the nations or the nationalities, and you have different experience that would allow you to deal with other new experiences and with different vision, because there is a lot of these countries who are really very well educated about technology, about media, about marketing, and so on. So they would deliver back or get back new marketing ideas, new opportunities, new culture, and new connections, because if you're living abroad, you might be knowing a lot of people that can come to Egypt as well. So training is very important. Training is the bone, the backbone actually of how to do your job, irrelevant where you are. Talking about this is about the investors or the private sector, but you have, on the other hand, other areas where you don't have a training going on. Where is a taxi driver taking lessons? In UK, before you drive the cab, the British important cab, the driver is taking a complete lessons about how to deal with people, how to show them around if anybody asks a question, how to keep their privacy. They're putting the wall or the window behind the driver so that they feel good. What kind of music you would display in the car. If we take only one small item, you would have a lot of experiences around it. In hotels, we were putting, for example, for marketing reasons, you put a tape where you display what you have in the hotel, so that the customer, before he arrives, he knows what is he going to see. So these are all ideas. It's just an example, the taxi driver or the bus driver. Again, it's for the travel agency.
It's all about the details.
So these are minor details that would make the difference, because all these little things, at the end, in the back mind of this tourist
Yes.
would come into an experience. And now the importance of this, that now you have the social media going on. So the minute you will have an issue with a taxi driver, he will just report it online, and then everybody
Yes.
will read all his country. So if he's Spanish, the Spanish people would understand what he's saying, and they would take it as a negative experience. If otherwise, of course, it will be a great experience. And we should encourage that we give the right experience to get back the customers, because again, repeat guests would represent in any country or in any hotel a certain percentage that we keep on increasing. And this is one of the major issues that we work around, how to gain the experience once and twice, and you give him a different program, a different experience. So unless we have the right training, not only on the private sector, but on the whole country, and that's why I said a media campaign for everything. How you treat the customer from the minute you step in, how
Yes.
would a tourist police in the airport would affect the experience is a major thing, and we won't feel it unless you see what's written on it.
Yes. Well, we'll be talking more about the public and the private sector within the tourism industry. But, Mr. Nicola, now the Chamber of Tourism Establishments will be participating in the World Travel and Tourism Market that will be held from the 4th to the 6th of November in the UK. That just lifted its ban to flights to Sharm el-Sheikh. Now, what should we be expecting out of such a participation in this fair, and what does it really mean, and can we maximize on this participation rather than just showing up and being part of it?
Well, Egypt been in this show since the beginning of,
Yes.
of it.
Whenever
So our participation is always there. It has a big meaning this time, of course, because just after the lifting of the ban. What do we expect from the show is the old big players in the British market who used to work Egypt a lot will come to our stand now and ask us, well, we want to fly our flights back. So we need rooms, we need buses, we need. And these will be the conversation will be taking place at this time. And then the new ones, the new tour operators will try to take the chance. Because now this field was empty for a few years. There will be huge demand from the British market to Egypt, expected, because they wanted to come for five years. They couldn't.
Yes.
So now it's possible. Let's go. So there will be a huge demand. So the new player in the market will try to join, will try to jump in. And now it's our time to sit and talk business and ask these people to sell us high. We don't want to sell our products low. So I believe that the main conversation in the coming fair will be about our rates. They will want to push the rate back to where it was.
Yes, very true.
And we will say, no, we already have 70, 80%. We only have 20 rooms at the hotel to give you, so I need to sell them in that rate. So I believe, finally, we are in a good position in negotiations.
Yes. So it's basically about cutting deals and making deals over there.
It will be this way.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Egypt's revenues from the tourism sector have reached $12.6 billion in 2019, which is pretty much close to the pre-2011 revolution rates. Let's check out this report and we'll be right back.
The Central Bank of Egypt revealed that tourism revenues increased by 2.7 billion to reach 12.57 billion in the fiscal year 2019-18 compared to 9.80 billion in the fiscal year 2017-18. A report issued by the World Bank under the title From Floating to Prosperity praised the structural reforms, stressing that the financial reforms have paid off and led to a gradual decrease in the fiscal deficit. Egypt has jumped 9 places in the Travel and Tourism Competitive Index released by the World Economic Forum in September. According to the World Economic Forum's Travel and Tourism Ranking Report, Egypt's tourism sector ranked 65 in the TTCI. The report showed that Egypt has made a huge leap in tourism promotion and marketing strategy. According to the report, Egypt is the first Middle Eastern and North African country in the field of environmental sustainability and cultural resources. Egypt also showed the best performance in Security and Safety Index. The government submitted a plan to the parliament seeking to increase the tourism sector's production to 279.4 billion Egyptian pounds, the current prices in 2019-20. The plan seeks to increase the average length visitors stay. Egypt witnessed a rise in tourism revenues during the first half of the fiscal year compared to the same period of 2017-2018.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Mrs. Mohammed, we briefly spoke about private sector, the public sector. Now, over the past few years, maybe the public sector and the government has been really carrying the biggest burden in really trying to jumpstart this sector. But now it's in healthy condition. How much should be the public sector and the government be involved in this vital sector? What's the relationship right now, the dynamics between the private and the public sector? Would we want to see more of the private sector, less than the public sector, or vice versa? Should it be a 50-50 balanced equation? How do you see the dynamics of this relationship and their involvement within the tourism industry?
I think it has to be equally treated.
Mm-hmm.
We need the investors. Investors plays a great role. Without the investors, you wouldn't be having this whole sector as an industry. On the other hand, unless the government encourages and pushes hard, like what's happening now, if you have security, this is a stone, the first stone or step to get back the tourism. So unless both are going together, you wouldn't reach anything. Unless you're doing infrastructure newly treated, newly established, in order to reach all your facilities, all your tourist places, in order to show the country and so on, you wouldn't be reaching what you are aiming to. So unless both are having one direction, one understanding, one aim, then, and the collaboration hand in hand, it doesn't go one way. If you look into other experiences like in Spain or in Cyprus, when they started the industry, they asked the minister, what do you need? So he needed all the country, all the ministries to be in collaboration with him. Whether it's the personnel of the ministries, because again, for one small item, you might make a difficulty for the tourist. If we talk visas, for example, if you talk access at the airport, these are different authorities, and the Minister of Tourism does not have control on these areas. So unless you have, as I explained always, that we have this whole experience from the moment you step in until the moment you leave, studied what happens in every moment and who is involved. So if I'm coming to this building, I come, I park, so the parking is involved. And then I step in the area and there is security to check me. This is again a different department, but again it involves the experience of my arrival and my experience to this area. So this is exactly what should be studied from all the different parts of the country and the investors together, hand in hand, because I have a different experience than the tourism field, the travel agent, I'm sorry. And then in the eyes of the tourist, what happens, the experience, what happens, we should read what the customers is saying, where are the difficulties that they are experiencing, and we should find solution. Of course, there is priorities. The country has done a lot to step in back, like safety, like infrastructure, like the international conferences held in Sharm to encourage people to come. These are all stones, but there is cornerstones that they have to put it together, the four pillars at the, what is the experience about? It's about the service, it's about the human dealings, it's about money value, it's about the general culture and how the customer sees the place, the country. So if you look into the services, we can find it, we can train the people. If you look into the money value, you should actually expand and increase the services as we were just talking. If you talk about the culture, this is where we really have an issue with the training, as Mr. Nicola explained earlier and as we talked. So without addressing these points and taking it step by step, again, so that everybody see what the customer experience as a challenge. If we say we do have challenges internally in finding our way, so how would a foreigner find his way? So we have to put maps, we have to put signs, we have to address it into languages or 3 languages. So we have to take every measure as we take the ride, for example. What should we say? How can we train the people? How can we arrange that? Where is the NGOs from that? Where is the investor from that? Are we still preventing the tourist to move? We're preventing him by taking him in a bus, going to the hotel, to the tours, but he does not get into any experience with the nature, with the public. Exactly. So unless we are confident that we should give this and we address it. There is a lot of media plans that are made on the TV and it has been giving very good results, whether it's smoking, it's... So if you start to address this, first the new generation would live a different experience, have a different vision and understand. And very important, I always take it as a point that if you address the person here in Egypt, the locals, saying how would this affect your economy, I am sure it will give
it's
a
going to make a lot
impact.
of difference.
It
Yes,
will
definitely.
give the real impact.
Yes. Mr. Nicola, now you're a member of the Egyptian Association of Travel Agencies. Now, over the past few years, the demographic nature of the travel agencies here in Egypt has changed. Obviously, social media has taken a big part. A lot of people, they have their own businesses, travel businesses online, individual efforts, and it really changes the dynamics and the distribution of this market. Now, how are we coping with this development, and are there travel agencies that feel the heavy load of not having enough clients because of the social media interference within the market, or are they actually jumping on the bandwagon of the social media? What is the nature of these travel agencies, be it online or be it practically physical in the market. How is the nature of this market?
This is a very important question. We always say, if you don't develop yourself, you will die. Travel agency, as we know it before, as we know it 20 years ago, and as some are still the same, will die soon, will not be exist. Because the third active sector in the internet in the world is the travel.
Yes.
And it suits the internet because it gives you the information when you're sitting on your lap. You want to see seashells, you just click it, you see it. So internet is matching the travel industry. If in the old days, travel agent used to have the experience that nobody else have it. So you gotta come to me, so I can tell you what to do and how to do it. Not anymore. Now I can go, check it online, know everything. What's the best hotel in Luxor? Easy to know. What's the cheapest hotel in Luxor? Very easy to know. So, yes, a travel agency, as we know before, will disappear soon. Now, it has to go, it has to develop itself. It has to go online, it has to go in the internet, and has to cope with the future. Yes, we are suffering. At this stage, this is an intermediate stage between the old school and the internet school. We are in the middle now. Those who's developing themselves will survive, will keep going and get a share from the internet. Others who cannot develop themselves will stay back and will close down.
Yes.
Now, we only suffering from something much greater than just the internet, the fair competition. Now, if you are a British guy who's coming to Egypt and you have your travel agency in Britain, ask them to stay in a hotel, 5-star hotel in Cairo. You'll ask me, the agent will ask me also, how much is that hotel? I have to put my markup on a certain rate and give it to the agent. The agent will mark it up and then give it to the client. While the client can go click on an internet engine, reservation engine, and I get a much better direct. I cannot reduce my markup because I have taxes to pay, I have salaries to pay, I have a lot of obligations that the other guy on the internet doesn't have it. So lately we were talking to the government about a lot of issues that the burdens that they need to be lifted from the travel agency shoulders in order to compete with the international travel agency online that would kill me if I didn't match with them.
Yes.
This is one area of the internet issue. The second and the most the very important is how do we use the internet to develop Egypt? And where is our ceiling now? We are trying to improve travelers to Egypt and reaching more numbers.
Yes.
We are 12.6, we want to do it 15, we want to do it 18. No. There is a certain point we will stop and we'll freeze because there is no more rooms. What we're talking now, Cairo, downtown, Heliopolis, even New Cairo, they're full. No rooms available. And there is no 5-star hotel I can accommodate a client. We have to have more rooms.
Yes.
We have to have more facilities in order for our ceiling not to stop at the 15. Our ceiling is 15 billion. If we need more than that, we have to start building now.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, obviously we've reached good levels for now, but as my distinguished guests have mentioned, still a lot of work needs to be done, whether be it on in the public sector and the private sector. Still more investments to be done because the potential in the tourism industry here in Egypt is actually pretty huge. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this edition of the Daily Debate. But before we go, I'd like to thank our very distinguished guest, Mrs. Nagham Mohammed, the Regional Director of Sales and Marketing of a group of hotels. I'd also like to thank Mr. Emad Nicola, the travel consultant and member of the Egyptian Association of Travel Agencies. Thank you very much for joining us this evening.
It's been a pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stay tuned for more coming up on Night International. I'm Henny Saif. Thank you for joining us.